moment is your enlightenment.
Yes. Level 5 is an interactive performance piece by the artist Brody Condon, and it takes its inspiration from the human potential movement of the 1960s and the large group awareness training that ran in the middle to late 70s and 80s. And especially self-help organizations like EST and Landmark Forum has been a big inspiration for this Larp. It's also a Larp. And just to make clear, I'll not talk about level 5 in an art context for this brief talk. I'll solely from my own point of view as a Larp writer and a game designer. Level 5 took the shape of a 2-day seminar where the characters was trying to achieve self-actualization. In other words, graduating from the fictional level 5 self-help program. At the seminar, the participants were put through various exercises, some more grueling than others, as you just saw. The methods that was used in the fiction were actual large group awareness training techniques, just like those in the real seminars in the 70s and 80s. These techniques are executed in a very specific way to order to deconstruct the characters' personalities, and then those personalities were rebuilt again, but only using the parts the seminar goer found useful in his or her own life. And this idea of personality is as something constructed that the person beneath or underneath can affect, of course, has parallel to the relationship that that the player and the character in the Larp in level 5, we wanted to explore this, or these similarities between the character and the player and the communication there. And one of the main questions that we asked ourselves was, what happens when you explore self-actualization via the alibi of a character? The basic outline for each player's fictional character was set up at a short 4-hour workshop a couple of days before the Larps. And in this session, the participant only had a very brief time to make a very thin framework for what their character should be like. Normally in most Larps, you either receive a written character or a description that's prepared by the organizers, or you develop the character yourself over a long period of time or at several different workshops. Level 5 was designed in such a way that during the first part of day 1, the player could try out and experiment with various aspects and directions of their character. None of the traits of the character was locked down in any way, and the participant could shift between shift direction at any time, and just to sort of find the right focus of their character to make it interesting to them as a player. Usually in Larp, this is not understood to be the case. The character is pretty much set when you start LARPing, and what you as a participant focus on is how your character acts and reacts to the story that is happening around you. Your character usually develops during the story, but its core identity is rarely changed in any drastic way. A method that we introduced to sort of catalyze this discussion between the player and the character was small logbooks, where you as a participant would communicate between the different layers of player and character in a very systematic way. In the notebook or logbook, you would all through the Larp write reflections on these 3 levels. The first level is what the character thinks about the character. An example could be the character writes to the character that I'm a great guy. On the second level of communication in the logbook, the participant is discussing their view on the character. So it could be, I really think my character is an asshole. And finally, on the third level, the participant is sort of discussing the participation or in level 5, and the participant could write, I really enjoy playing an ignorant asshole. So there's sort of communication going on 3 levels. In this way, the internal dialogue you have as a participant becomes very clear, and you can always go back and rewrite notes in the logbook if you feel you need to. And for us as game designers, this gave us a very, very valuable feedback on each participant's personal experience. During the Larp, we collected the logbooks several times and read through them all, and this gave us a very clear view on, well, both into the player's and the fictional character's mind. And of course, most important of all, the participants' own understanding of their character and where the participant wanted to take this character. And these information, of course, a lot of information, but we used it to sort of push the right buttons of the participants and of course mostly the characters and not only the participants to make the experience of the Larp more interesting and more intense. The question that we asked us before the Larp, what happens when you explore self-actualization via the alibi of a character, was answered in the logbooks by the participants, of course. As the characters approach the self-actualization, the dialogue between the character and the participant blended together in this safe space of the Larp, and the participants shared very personal items and discovered things about themselves that they didn't know before. As a Larp write, you are making game mechanics designed to activate the emotions and feelings of characters in your Larp. And with tools like the logbook and lots of respect for your participants, it is possible in Unity to create something very beautiful. And as a last thing, I would very much like to read some small item from a logbook. This part is a participant writing about her own experience as a player in level 5. This experience was actually a great outlet for me. It is not every day that you get a chance to probe your own feelings and issues while not really owning them, if that makes sense. I really enjoyed getting to scream and cry and shout and act out and knowing that no one would take it personally, that I essentially had a scapegoat for the perceptions and judgments of others. On another note, it was really strange that the other characters found my character attractive. I've never had someone tell me that I was attractive when they weren't actively hitting on me, which has only happened like 3 times, or when we weren't already dating. Pretty sure at least 2 of my exes never openly said I was attractive anyways. So that was really new to me. Thank you.